Welcome to a year of not trying to deny the rose. Women talk about sex, and we enjoy it if a man is good. The key word if. For a lot of us, we could not explain the rising obsession misogynistic men had with women becoming loose, both sexually and economically. For the producer, a man who could barely bust a nut unless it was filled with crabs, women had to grow up and accept if they wanted freedom, they had to gain the more pain that came with it. The Angelino was not foreign sentiment. For them, life was about the pleasure you receive, not give, and that road was hard for everyone. The strange uniqueness of their privileged stance slash mommy issues trickled into my head at my weekly women's meet. I got the rose, announced Nina. The rose, the room audibly announced. For just $23.99 on Amazon Prime, you can receive what Nina declared as the ultimate orgasm. Within 10 minutes of its usage, a two-part master tech with 7 modes, Nina was describing the rose like a car dealer would the most lavish vehicle on the lot. She did not have to tell us twice. Within minutes, we had a Prime membership, and within days, we were all blessed with a new rose in our garden. The naughtiness of the conversation stayed with me because society has a tendency to shapeshift its prejudice over actually shaping up. Our women's group started as an attempt to decenter men in our lives, especially in terms of sex. We had found the dating world to be a cesspool of male emotions and concepts that never included women's feelings or thoughts. We were still treated like objects, except this object was overly educated to still be more unemployed and unpaid compared to the man she was dating. Like the producer or the Angelino, men had confused feminism for torture and a sincere belief that women had to earn the right to have the right to be seen as equal. Thus, we were entering a world that was more prejudiced than ever because it thought it was freer. The result was a weird relationship with sex and consent. Should we have one night stands? Is it okay to start a series of relationships with men that did not fulfill us sexually, but we were determined to wait and see if they could barely do so emotionally? We were confused because our freedom was still patriarchal in definition. Here I was using my fingers, Gigi announced. With so many Gemini placements and chronic bouts of depression, masturbation had become a lifesaver for Gigi, who struggled with finding a medication balance that did not turn her anxiety into sleepiness. It's like they think the only way I'm less anxious is if I'm unconscious, she said tearfully about her doctors. Thus, touching herself and hitting the gym became physical ways to combat the physicality of her depressions that left her so bedridden for months, only to reappear as if she had never gone. If that was a testament to our bond as women, one of us could absolutely mentally abandon ship and we would pull in a life raft to get her back the minute she was ready. I'm kind of scared I've gotten too good at masturbation, she said in a blend of pride and a genuine worry that was more shared than what she thought. I am too, I announced. The patriarchy was right. Women were more educated, but I did not realize it was also in terms of ourselves. We were learning about our bodies, our minds, our hearts, and our power, and not simply to protect ourselves from men, but to heal ourselves as human beings. When you suffer systemic oppression based on the certain community you were born into, the group often divides between those that scream in rooftops they are angry and that others are apathetic. But everyone wonders which gets us a bigger paycheck, shutting down our negative feelings or commodifying them. Yet it was hard to be so elevated spiritually and enter a world that materially sabotaged us. With most of us in our late 20s, 30s, and 40s, we were getting scared that we would end up alone or have to settle for someone lesser than us, and would probably spend most of our relationship fleshing out their potential to end in the ashes of our own generous unhappiness. In essence, we did not want to be our mother's or John Mulaney's wife. It is why I'm struggling to not be celibate anymore, Nina followed. What is the point of having sex with men that do not even know what is a G-spot? I feel empty and at risk just trying to find someone who knows or at least wants to learn. Nina had done a year of not dating or having sex with men to heal from her toxic fiance and to not resent how her beauty actually endangered her in the dating scene. Half Palestinian, half Filipina, the woman was stunning and actually dated Drake. She also had a PhD from Yale in Middle Eastern Affairs and International Politics, which, as I write this, feels like the perfect educational path for someone with severe anxiety issues. I don't find anyone that even lets me matter to myself more than I have to make them matter to me. I'm their dream girl on paper, but in real life, they make me their maid or their therapist. I'm tired. I'm just staying alone. And just like that, Nina was prepping to retake her celibacy vow. Gorgeous, sweet, and fiercely intelligent, Nina was pulling an Ava DuVernay at 36 and prepping to make her directorial debut, all while traveling the world. Yet she was sentimentally shaken by how her rose had changed her life/mine. I think the rose was the first time I had an orgasm, and I was engaged to be married. It was an emotional vulnerability that would alarm everyone in the Catholic Church. A little piece of machinery was doing more for creation than man or flesh and blood. Honestly, if Nina could be inseminated by the rose, she would have. And when I look at her ex, it would have been a more present father. Does that make me a bad person? She asked. Why do I feel better when I'm alone than with a partner? I fulfill my needs and desires so well in a world with bare minimum men. F it, I'm staying alone too, I yelled, and the room burst into laughter. But inside, we were wondering. For some of us, we were willing to stay alone over ill-accompanied, but still dreaming that there was some guy who realized we had a world and life beyond theirs. And in the same way we were joining theirs, they were joining ours. Meanwhile, the other half of the room were rethinking their boundaries and wondering if they had to lower them even more just to get company. Both sides mutually afraid that either alone or in marriage/life partnerships, they would always have to keep the rose to keep pleasure. A misogynistic price tag for a dating world that still refused to give importance or precedent to female pleasure. Okay, so that, I introduced a few new characters. Angelina, the producer, you're going to hear about those assholes. They're horrible men. But this is, I also talked about Gigi, who's my friend, and she's going to come up. I wanted to introduce more people in my life, obviously change their names. Nina. Nina's just a fabulous human being. Really, there's so many women I know in their 30s that are like kind of deciding to chase their dreams. And I was talking with her and she said something really, really impactful. She said, when I entered my 30s, I let myself be angry. And it kind of hit me just how exhausted I was in my 20s, just these highs and lows, emotional roller coaster of just trying to make everything come true for you in a world that really does systemically crush dreams for so many people beyond race, class, and gender. All the different isms, racism, classism. It's also just this kind of crazy superficial world that, I've had people shut me down because of my weight, because of my height. One guy actually said, "You're just too kind." And I thought, since when is kindness such a bad thing? And he said it in a way like, how like when people say you're just too kind, like till this day, it impacts me, the ickiness he said it with, like it was disdainful. And leaders are kind. I'm a leader and I'm a kind one. But we got together in this weekly meet and we were eating and laughing and bonding. And I think we all trickled into some level of existential crisis because Nina brought up the rose and everybody ordered it that night, which still makes me laugh because we've been really frustrated in the dating world in terms of I've just experienced way too many men that genuinely believe and kind of weaponize feminism as this concept. Oh, you want to be free? Then let's go Dutch. And you got to give me sex tonight because maybe I'll buy you one drink. And it becomes overwhelming and heavy. And it's very hard to know someone in a genuinely connective way. And what's wild about a lot of these men, particularly misogynistic men, is that they want the relationship without the declaration. So it's like, it's so crazy. One of my friends has a no cuddle after sex rule. particularly for one night stands, because you will see these men like, damn, I could marry you. God, you're gorgeous. My God. And then if you actually fall into that love bombing, that love language, they kind of resent you and they're shocked, like, whoa, I was just saying I could have a relationship. I wasn't actually saying I could have a relationship. And I think that has put the confusion, a woman in a real, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On one hand, I think it's empowered us because, it's how you react to negativity. And I think seeing how many men just don't care or don't know about female pleasure in spiritual and physical ways, mental ways, in every way, just not having a concept of what it is to make a woman at least equally happy, equally trying to make her happy as you want her to make you happy as a man. I think for a lot of us, we enter the dating world within 2 weeks, we feel invisible. And what that has done is that has made us even more observant and self-reflective and self-explorative in terms of, well, in this case, masturbation, physicality, emotional, mental, because a lot of my friends, I'm not kidding, like literally within 3 months of being on Bumble, they have a celibacy vow, because it's just, it's not a joke. We get entered. Women, we're the ones who get offered marriage, and men will complain, oh, that's, we're just, I don't even know what men say anymore. I'm just so bored. But they've built this system where you want to be leaders and lead, right? And when we want equality, they feel so challenged by that. But it's this double-edged sword again of, you want to be leaders, then lead. But when I ask you for things, because a leader serves, he's not just served, he serves. Suddenly you don't want to be a leader. Suddenly you do want equality. And that's what I'm trying to say of kind of the manipulation of feminism. We both pay. Let's all have sex. Let's all be loose. Let's all cuddle, but not have commitment. And it's really, really exhausting. And I think the perk of being oppressed in an odd way, I always say, is that every oppressed group will be called too emotional. You're just too emotional to handle your own resources, your own power, your own mind, your own money, your own body. And the perk of having such a horrible painting of you handed down to you systemically is that you oddly just learn to embrace emotions, and you actually just let yourself feel. And your very oppressor caps his own feelings because he can't look like you, right? And I think men are very, 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 very way more emotional than what they want to admit, because they are human beings. Everybody's a human being. Emotions are humanity. But it's because masculinity is so tethered to being unemotional, and thus that's what a leader should be. It can feel very alarming and just draining, this dating world that is so patriarchal and can be so unemotional, oddly enough. And, there are good men, and I don't call those men, I call them kings. I was telling my friend that today, because we talk a lot about, how men hurt us, because they just keep on doing it. But there are fantastic men, and I want to say that for anybody listening to this, beyond, everybody, we can all find our partner. We can all find love. And the people that are magnificent, I don't even think I should call them kings. I should call them angels, because they're beyond gender. One day you will find your partner and they will love you. But until then, get the rose, $23.99 on Amazon. But I hope, what I do love is that we're all on this journey of self-discovery, and we're going beyond our boundaries of class, race, gender, religion, all these labels placed on us, all these labels we were raised by, to just find some level of inner peace and love. And I think that's magnificent. I think that's human. And that's all I want to be from here on out. And that's why I got the rose. But check out daddyrecovery.com. I just dropped something, and I really, if you could read the passage and read so much more, please follow.